in there, and when I looked at it, it looked like most of the students who missed the question picked the distractor, talked about how a character, what they wanted, as opposed to how they felt. Um, and the question exactly was, um, what was the most likely reason for Franklin Mason's reaction to Toby's first book report? So, did you guys discuss reaction leading up into the test? I assume that was one of the major parts that you talked about.
Right, we talked more about the motivations.
Uh-huh.
I feel I need to reteach that as a whole to
Okay.
break that down in more detail.
Okay.
So I feel I can be more clear in expressing how they have other options on what they feel and what they would like to do.
Okay, so how are you going to reteach motivation? Like what are some of the things you're going to use to help them sort of identify a character's motivation?
So I'm definitely start with their feelings.
Okay.
And then, so their feelings will go to what makes them motivated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to express how they feel is all about their motivation, and then I'm going to talk about their wants.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get them used to identifying the different distractors.
Okay.
So because I don't think I taught that distracting
what they might
strategy.
See on a test.
Right.
Okay.
And I think what's happening too is that the students are seeing the first possible answer that seems very reasonable, and then they're choosing that and they're stopping from that.
Awesome. Okay, so how do you think you're going to get them to not do that? Because I think you're right, except for in this situation, on question 3, the first answer is actually the correct answer.
Okay.
So A, he believes art matters more than writing. The most commonly missed one was D.
Okay.
And so I think that, let me double check and make sure that that's correct. This is question 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so the correct answer should have been, D. And the one that they most likely did, doesn't make sense. Yeah, so the correct answer was definitely D. Okay, so he believes art matters more than anything than writing. Is that right? Yeah. So, okay, so they did choose that one first. Okay, that makes sense then.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just not looking all the way. So how are you going to make sure that they look through all of the steps when they're taking the test?
Going back to all the following directions, making sure you. This actually ties to our next math lesson, whether it's too much or too little information.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure you read everything first prior to making your decision.
Okay.
So you have options where, yes, can be a correct answer, but it's a better answer in there as well.
Right.
So making sure they read all of the answers first.
And then pick the best one.
Right.
Great. And so how would you have them go back to look to decide which is the best one, though?
I'll have them utilize the 4 strategies.
Okay.
If they can find it right there in the text, they need to go ahead and circle it right there in the text.
Right.
And circle different keywords they have in that answer as well.
Okay. Excellent. And there's keywords. Now, the second question that most of them missed was actually a right there question. It was question 5. Mm-hmm. And it said, how is Toby's first book report different from the second one? And so actually that's directly in the text. Most of your students that got it wrong chose answer C, which says the second book report was about Huck Finn. And I believe that's what the first book was about. So it seems like a careful reading kind of situation. How are you going to help them be more careful in their reading? Like what strategy can you give them to be more careful with their reading?
The strategy, I definitely want them to start reading the question and finding out what they're asking for first. Okay. So I want to introduce the strategy of think on your own, and that means I want them to read the question first and circle and underline what they're asking for. Okay. And then revert back to the text and look for different keywords that they can relate it to. And see if that will help a little bit.
Okay, so it includes relating words from the question to the text.
Right, because what the students are doing is trying to read the whole composition piece first, and then just answering the questions.
Instead of not going back.
Right.
Right. So are you having them read the text first, read the questions, and then go back to the text? Is sort of what you're looking for?
Mhm.
And so they're going to mark words that are in the question and the answer choices and then back in the text. Excellent.
Right.
How do they do in terms of time on that? Is that something that, what do you think keeps them from doing that right now? Is it something that takes too long, or is it something that maybe they just haven't tried yet, haven't been exposed to yet?
I think it's a combination of the
Okay.
length and some they haven't had much practice to that method.
Okay, excellent. And so, how are you going to give them more practice to that method as you move forward? What are some things you're going to do in class before they take their next assessment?
So I'm gonna utilize the do now time. I'll
Uh-huh.
put a prompt on the board, and I'll have them practice. It'll be like a short paragraph they can read, and I'll have up 2 or 3 questions to go along with that
Great.
and introduce. And I'll plan on writing the big strategy on the wall on a big piece of paper,
Yeah.
so they can understand the different steps it takes to go along with that.
Great. So that sounds like a great anchor poster to have, one that you have up throughout the year. What about using the questions from this test as part of your do now? You could actually review them in your do now if you wanted to. In particular, because you have 4 sections, and really 2 of the sections are the ones that you really want to focus on, your comprehension and vocabulary. That might be something that you could use as your do now to lead into your reteach during intersection if that's something you were looking for.
Yeah, I would love to use this because the more comfortable you get with this style of directions and format, I feel the more accessible it will be.
Great, great, great. Okay, let's talk about students that are doing well. How do you? I noticed in your last reflection you actually talked about pushing them to like that next level. So using some extension work. What extension work are you going to use for your Miss Mullenix, Miss Davis? I don't know the first name for Joan Slace, but Kara, Tasia, Naila. Is that Valerie and Ariana?
So I'm gonna try to utilize the enrichment ancillaries that I do have.
Okay.
And utilizing the small group setting.
Okay.
Because those students typically, when I give the direct instruction, they grasp the concepts very fast and they're able to work on their own.
Okay.
So as we break into independent work, they usually are done and they're working on their homework right away. So instead of them going ahead and making that jump to their homework, I'm gonna have them do some enrichment problems as well to further their comprehension levels in that.
Excellent. That sounds great. What about is there something I can do to help support you in really any of these groups? Next week I'm not going to be here Monday through Wednesday, but I'll be back on Thursday.
Okay.
So what can I do to help support you while you're teaching intersection? In fact, I'll be here Thursday and Friday because the other school is actually out for the week. So what can I do to support you during your reteaches?
Definitely help me differentiate the different groups of where I need to have more of more intervention with the students that are getting the learning a little slower than others.
Okay, so let's take a look at your list then. I assume you have how many students are on your list?
9 students.
You have 9 students. Who are your 9 students?
So there are Marquise, Kintoya, Nairobi, Celestino, Shamera, Julian, Angel, Bailey, Samara, and that's it.
Okay, so I only got the first 3. Can you do that for me one more time?
I have Williams, Marquise, McBride, Kintoya, Dunbar, Nairobi, Celestino, some Shamera, Wilson, Hightower, Julian, Garcia, Angel, Andrews, Bailey, and Wilson, Samara.
Okay. All right. So looks like Dunbar and